All right, we have Nick and Chris joining me on Truth Seekers today. We're going to talk about scalable complexity. I love this topic because it applies to any growth situation, whether you own your own business or personal development. At a certain point, the processes that serve you in getting to where you are may not serve you into getting to where you want to be from where you are now, if that makes sense. Nick, to help me to develop that a little bit further, scalable complexity.
Yeah, you can only go to what your limits are. And oftentimes we don't even go that far. And so if you start out, you go, okay, I want to build a house, like, but it just seems so far away from what's possible to me. Like, but is it conceivable to say that you could lay a brick? You could lay one brick on top of each other? And if it is, then it's a different perspective than building the house. But you're probably still standing by the side of the house, looking or the ground where the house is going to be on, going, I can't build a house. Mm-hmm. Yet you're still within what's capable of what you see as scalable and complex within those confines.
Yeah, I think if you boil it down, it starts with the next step. So I can bring in Chris here. Chris, does this apply to you in your professional life or even your personal life? How have you come to an area of hitting a glass ceiling or reach that area of complexity where you need maybe to shake it up or find something new to get you to the next level? How do you approach that?
Absolutely. I've had that multiple time in my working career. I get to a point that I just couldn't go anymore for various different reasons. That could have been in the business I was in, or just didn't have the drive to do it anymore. So, I made maybe a big one where I just couldn't get the drive anymore to go into work for a company in London. And then I think 8 weeks later, I was flying to New Zealand to start a new job. So, and that was my next step. And when I went to that level, I then went to Australia later, and I got, should we say, my steps. I thought I was at a limit, should we say, in the UK, but that actually me going abroad, when I came back to London, there is no, should we call it, no limit really.
Isn't that interesting? So I've got like the vision in my head of the glass ceiling, right? So if it's like I'm in a box, and I look up, I can see the sky, I can see like space, but then there's this glass ceiling. So I know that there is more. I just can't get there anymore. Yeah. And it's like you said, Chris. It's like, I can't do anything here. So what are my options? But there's a door in this box I'm in, right? I'm just gonna go next door to a different box. And I'm going to go to quite a few boxes because it's all the way to New Zealand. I'm going to go pretty far.
There's a lot of things in between, right? That, sure.
but where there's another box which has a ceiling that's higher up.
Yeah.
But isn't that funny? Because then you go in that box and then you can go higher up. And then when you've done that, explored that box for a little while, you look back at the one that you're in and go, hang on, that ceiling's not in the same place as it was before.
Definitely.
And like the reality is that it never was anyway. It's just the perspective that you had, right?
Absolutely, and I still know people that have still working at the company before I moved to New Zealand, who are still in that box and didn't make that step and still in that glass ceiling, should we say? But it was I mean, as I said, there was a lot more steps in between that, but it's trying to get that. I don't think people know their limits. People think they know their limits, but they don't know the limits. We can probably write them down and go, oh, that's my limit and stuff. But there's always a few more steps above that limit, I believe, anyway.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's why Nick and I love coaching, is because we get to help people, see their own tools that they have to break through that glass ceiling.
Yeah.
And that's great imagery. Like, it's a barrier, but it's glass. We know that there's something beyond it. It's just that, with our perspective that we've had so far, maybe we don't know how to get through that yet. It's just a perspective in that moment in time. And
sure.
I love that concept.
Yeah. It's like where I know somewhere in this room, there's a hammer. I can just smash that thing, but I just can't find it right now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And then don't forget, some people think, oh, the hammer's just not there.
Well, yeah. Here's the thing. If you think it's not there, how hard are you going to look for it?
You're not gonna get it. And that's the big thing. So when you've accepted that, then I say accepted, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but if you think, okay, that if you're not accepted that the hammer's just not there, you're not going to try. You could do that as, I've accepted this is where I'm going to end up in a job, or this is where I'm going to end up in my life. If you don't, the moment you start accepting that, then
So, Chris, I think that's easier said than done. I think it's a great point, but do you have any recommendations for when you feel yourself starting to get close to that barrier?
Mm-hmm.
How to be aware, or how to be open to other solutions to break through it? Like you said, like we're not even aware that we have the capability to break through it. Mm-hmm. So how can we bring that awareness to ourselves?
That's a good. You're asking someone who's had them moments of not knowing. I'm just very lucky to have a very good mate of mine here that has helped me through that. So I got the free coaching, shall we say, years ago. That's helped me to make them early steps and stuff, and I still get that. So I think I was fortunate to have someone in the circle of friends that I have that can help me to break that glass and push me, because there's no doubts that I have thought that's it. I said I've had a story of previous life not long after, went to school with a girlfriend, for example, and thought that was it kind of thing. And then when you're out with Nick, and then I think I've just been fortunate to have someone help me to break them glasses and give me them. But I've been stuck in them ways for sure.
So can I push on that a little bit? Do you remember what it was that he brought to your attention, or was it the way he asked questions, or how did he help you break through what you were experiencing?
Nick always asks his questions, and it winds me up sometimes. Because when he starts asking, I'll get fed up, and then I get fed up, and now I'm fed up because I know he's right. See, so we know about whenever there's questions at work, you go why, you get to the fifth why, and you get the answer. But it's not. I think people know that now. You just have certain questions that Nick asks, for example. But I think it was definitely the early stages where I just accepted that I'd find a girlfriend I was going to marry and have 2 kids and live in the same area, for example. And there was some doubt during that time, but I was just going to accept it because that's what you do. But I can't remember the exact words. I'm sure there was a beer involved, shall we say. But Nick would definitely, he's always pushed to do better stuff, always driving to do forward. What do you want to do? What would you love to do? If the world was your oyster, if you have all the money, you can go anywhere you want, what would you like to do? And that makes you start to think about stuff, etc. And then you start asking the questions to yourself, and then it starts from there, really.
Well, I appreciate that, mate. And I think what Josh was getting at is that there's all these different stimuluses around us, right? And so some are negative, some are positive, some are neutral. Mm-hmm. And I think you just made a point as well, actually, that it's not usually one thing. It's like it's adding stuff on top. So maybe it's that glass ceiling, it's not smashing through it, it's just putting things on top of it until it breaks. It's like there's something.
Yeah.
It's just like one idea, one question, it goes, just sliced through what you thought was completely true, and now it's not.
Yeah.
Like that is always interesting. You just get a slightly different perspective, and then you start to build on that, because oftentimes people think about you're stuck in one place, and then suddenly everything's open, and there's this massive success. Especially people in the public eye, right? There's all these people that are overnight successes. Of course, aren't really overnight successes. We're only seeing it as that. We're not seeing the 10 years of hard work before it that built and suddenly get this thing that everyone sees. And I think that's the same for everyone. Yeah. And I think it's getting that different perspective. We used to talk about people we used to go to school with, that we're kind of in that similar situation where it's just marry the girlfriend that you had at school, get a job and live next to your parents. Nothing wrong with that, no judgment. But once you've seen what else is possible, then it's hard to kind of put it all back in a box. you can't unbreak that ceiling. And then it's like, oh man, like for better or for worse, it's like now everything's different.
And sometimes you need to again, not sure if it's the right word, but make mistakes to realize, you go off a path a little bit and then you come back onto the path, but you need to do that to, take one step to the side to go 2 steps forward, kind of thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, we take the glass ceiling analogy a little bit further.
Yes.
Instead of breaking through the ceiling, you're knocking down a wall. Instead, you're going sideways, but it's got to happen in order to get to the right ceiling. Sometimes.
Yeah. That's right. But I love the coaching analogy of flying a plane like from one side of America to the other, right? It's to your point, Chris, like you make mistakes and you go to one direction, which then allows you to come back to another direction. And that I think everyone here can agree that mistakes are valuable. Failure is valuable because it allows you to get to where you want to be. There's no point ending up in a place where you want to be and go, oh, but I wish I didn't do all those things beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you take any of those things out that you didn't do beforehand, that situation you're in, that wouldn't exist because it had to happen in order to get to these situations. Like all those mistakes are valuable to get to where you want to be.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And the straightest line from A to B is the quickest way from A to B is a straight line, of course. So if you're flying from one side of the US to the other side, that plane that's flying is constantly off course. All the time it's off course.
Mm-hmm.
But what it's doing is making these tiny little adjustments all the time, and it looks like it's going in one straight arrow across the whole country. But and then so to your point, Chris, like if you didn't have that constant adjustments, you'd be making these huge direction turns all the time. Oh man, I'm in Canada, quickly adjust it and come back down again. Oh man, I'm in Mexico, I need to come back up again. And so it's going to take infinitely longer.
Yep.
Most people are going to get to where they want to go. It's just going to take a long time. And so it's just being able to do it with small adjustments because it's always going to be there. You're always going to need something. But let's go back to the glass ceiling because I love this.
Well, I'm picturing a huge commercial building with all these. There's multiple ceilings, right? You bust through one, you're not out in the open. It's not, you don't have everything figured out. It's just a matter of time before you get to the next one.
Sure.
So maybe Chris, if I can pose this to you, if you can remember a time where you busted through one, what was the feeling like when you got out on the other side? So maybe after one of your big moves, like why was that a good thing to you? Where were you?
Okay, so I think the most challenging point that I think I've really made a step forward in my career, I moved to Australia and I was doing a job that I knew I could do in the UK. It's fine. It's not a problem. I can do this job. Well, them first 6 months in that company was the hardest 6 months of any working life. And I've been working, I've now been working 20 years in work. So that was the hardest 6 months of my life. And the moment I was doing something and I cracked it, because they have different laws and different regulations in Australia than they do in the UK. And I remember I did something and I did it naturally. It came to me just like that. Boss was happy and I was like, I've done it. And I would say that moment I realized that because at the point is I can't do this job. I might as well just move back to London. I know what to do over there. It's just easy. I can go back. And that was the point. I was like, that's it.
Wow.
I'm going to stay in Australia now because it was hard. It was hard. And that was always one thing that will come to mind because it was difficult.
So what does that do for you when you come across the next experience? Like maybe you've experienced another challenging situation like that since then, or in the future. How will you approach that differently now that you've done that?
Well, you're right. I have come across that in the years after that, even at that company when things are going on and you have different challenges every day. I always believe that at some point I've always believed I can do it. I need to learn it, but I know I can do it.
Yeah.
So whenever I've come across some challenges, the company I'm working for now, that was tough. There's a lot more traveling involved. I knew I could do it. It's just had to get the right things in place for me to go forward. So That's the one thing from that point that I know I can do it. It's just making sure I do it correctly and get it on time, and yeah.
So powerful. We did a Truth Seekers on beliefs a few weeks back, Chris. But this goes to the same thing as back to the glass ceilings, right? If you don't believe that there's a hammer on the floor, you're not going to look for it. Same as if you believe you can do it, then you'll find a way. And like and I know, because I know you, like that process for you, what that was like. You just, after that, you just bounced around in loads of different places and just did whatever you wanted to do. It seemed like, for me anyway, like, because and so now hearing that, it's like, well, that makes sense, because you, from that point on, you believe you can do it no matter what it is. All you've got to do is work hard. Like that's your evidence procedure to know whether what's the next step for you, right? It's like, okay, well, I know I can do it. I believe I can do it. I've just got to do it on time, and I've just got to know how to.
Yeah, it's funny because when we do presentations in front of big people or a lot of people, I know when I've spoken to colleagues, they go, it's going to be hard doing this, talking in front of 40, 50, 60 people. And I don't have that problem. The reason why I don't have that problem is I know what I'm talking about. Yes, okay, if you give me a topic, just a random topic to talk about, of course, I couldn't do that, okay? But I had no problem standing in front of hundreds of people to talk about what I do, because I can do it. I've talked about it in front of people, but I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing, and that kind of takes away that feeling that you have of frightenness, that you can't do something, basically, i.e., standing up in front of people.
Mm-hmm. Coach, what principles jump out for you there?
I got the sense of truth right there that leaped through, but same thing, belief systems. Just his belief system, it was always there. But we go back to the glass ceiling, the hammer, it was a dark room, but the hammer was there somewhere, right? So he found it eventually. And now every room that he goes in after that, the lights are on. Like the hammer's in there, you just got to find it somewhere.
Yeah, it's a good word. It's definitely a good way of putting it there, Josh. You're right. I find it quicker. I find that every time, every new company I work for, saying I'm finding that hammer quicker. Yeah.
So I talked to somebody just today about crippling anxiety, or if you get in that situation where you're panicky, there's so much going on, you can't keep up. What he did was separate himself from the situation, go into a little bit of a meditative state. When that room is dark, all we're doing is looking for, where's the hammer? Where's the hammer? Where's the hammer? There's a process for allowing the hammer to come to you, and that involves flipping on that light switch. So now that you know that, after experiencing that for the first time, you utilize that and put it in your repertoire for future situations. And that can be applied to so many different things. And not only the light switch, but maybe, you check under the rug is the first place you check. Like, you find shortcuts as you go for how to solve these problems.
For sure. Definitely.
It's like the patterns, right? The patterns that we run, we've done something, then we see that pattern, we do it again, and patterns can be things that are negative for us, neutral or positive, back to that again. But it's the ones that we're intentional about that serve us the best, right? It's like you know how to, no matter what toothbrush you pick up, like, you know how to brush your teeth, right? It's like, well, that one's got like a little thing which is like an automated toothbrush, that one's a manual toothbrush, but I know how to brush my teeth because I'm going to run the same patterns. There's only so many ways to do that, and that you pick those things up in your life and you just apply them, right? It's like, I'm not going to worry about fumbling around in the dark. I know that the pattern I need to run is find the light switch. Light switch.
Well, you can, and also I'm a big believer that let's build that house or smash that glass. Yeah. How much do you want it? I think everyone can smash the glass ceiling, build the house, but how much do you want it? And if you want it enough, you'll be able to do it, for sure. It might take a bit longer than some other people, but you can do it.
So Chris, what was that for you with that 6-month experience where it was terrible, terrible, terrible? Why? What made you stick around there? What was the end goal for you?
Yeah.
the end, what was the end goal? So the end goal is I've just moved to another country, you know what I mean, and I want to make it work at the end of the day. That was the big challenge. But I've always found, you know, learning, school, working difficult, you know, at the early stages. I just always have done. But I don't give up easy. You know, I never give up easy. Obviously, when you're in another country and you've only been there 6 months or 3 months, and that's when you start thinking, have I made it? It wasn't an option, but it was hard for sure. I couldn't gonna go back. I've done enough. The big enough jump was to go to that country, for example. I'm not just going to chuck it away after 3 months. You know, I'll always, you know, in my head at that time, I'm going to give it 6 to 9 months. If I can't crack it, then okay. That was my mindset then, you know. And it cracked it after 6 months for sure. But I've never given up. Basically, you know, I'm always one of them who just keeps going. Always working hard, put the hours in, the overtime, 2 jobs on a Saturday, you know, to get extra money to go out with your mates and stuff like that. If I wanted something, you know, you have to go and do it. You've got to go and do the extra mile. So,
yeah. I love it. All right, Coach Nick, start to bring us home here with some takeaways. What do you think?
Oh, there's so much good stuff. And that ties into the consistency we talked about last week, right? Consistency over time gets results. Doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter like how difficult you find it. If you do it consistently, you're going to get good at it. One of the things you said at the start, Chris, which I loved, I'm just going to look at my notes, is people don't know what their limits are, right? And so if you're building that house and you're standing outside saying, I can't build a house, you're not thinking about what your limits are. Your limits, you might be right. You might not be able to build that house, but that's not your limits. So I challenge everyone that's listening, watching, to ask yourself, where do you want to go right now? And what are you putting there as your limit? Like, have you really explored it? For me, that's the most important thing. And then tie that into, okay, well, what do you need to do to get through that glass ceiling where you are right now? Like, is it a limit? Or are you looking about where you want to go? Like, what options have you got? How can you move? Because the worst thing you can do is nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're not going, no action equals no results. Bad action equals bad results, or different results. But I would also posit that there's no bad action. It's just action. It's just results. You get more information, right? Like you said, Chris, you make a mistake, you get a result. And then from that result, you get more information. So you can take another action and get you to where you want to be.
Definitely.
So I think for me, it's that. I think for me, the biggest thing that jumps out was that. It's just people don't know what their limits are. Let's invite everyone to go and find them.
Yeah. I love that. I also love the concept. I think we talked about this before of it's easy to connect the dots looking backwards in time, but if you can just trust the process, that there's a reason that you're going through certain things right now, that experience of not being able to break through that glass ceiling is just a single perspective in that point in time that you're experiencing, and there is a solution. And if you fast forward a couple of weeks, a couple of months, a couple of years, you'll be on the other side of that. So keep that in perspective when you're approaching tough situations.
There's always a hammer if you want to look for it.
Right. That's right.
I'm going to be dreaming about a hammer tonight, I tell you.
Yeah. Hammers and glass ceilings.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Anything else, guys, before we wrap up here?
There's a joke in there somewhere, but yeah, let's close.
All right. Thanks, guys. See everybody next week.
Cheers. See you later.
All right.
Right.